Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Focus Forum, our January Focus Forum. Rita Riker here, President of the Board of Focus Greater Syracuse, and welcome to our forum. We're using our January forum again this year to hear from you, to help us identify and consider topics for future forums. We continue to do these January forums because we found them to be very valuable in identifying what is of particular interest to you. Thank you to everyone who responded to our survey about topics of interest. We received 72 survey responses. It's a record. Our survey drilled down on 5 areas of potential interest based on what we've heard in the past. They are, in order of what you told us was most important: housing, stability and development, economic and workforce development, health and family support, community engagement and transparency, education and career readiness. So in addition to these, we also asked if there were other areas of importance to you, and a few additional areas popped up, which we'll be looking at as we move forward. So for each of the areas, we asked you to identify more specifically what you were interested in learning and from whom. And you provided us with a wealth of suggestions. Today, we'd like you to voice more specifically what you'd like to hear about in our forums. Emeritus Board Member Brian Hoke will be moderating our discussion today and may call on you to briefly introduce your recommended topic, including who you might like to hear from on the topic. A few ground rules for this format. Please mute your audio when you're not speaking so that we don't hear any background noise. Also, if you have, if your name is not on the corner of your little photo there, it would be helpful if we knew we're able to call on you by name. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand using the Zoom raise hand feature, or simply raise your hand. We'll try to accommodate as much interaction as possible. And as always, we ask that you be respectful of everyone's opinions. As usual, we're scheduled for 1 hour today, and we are recording today's session, so it will be available for others to listen to later. Now, let me turn this over to Brian to lead our discussion. Brian?
Thanks, Rita. I'll add my thanks as well. In effect, you're helping us do our homework, right? We hope that these sessions, the upcoming fora, if you will, are aimed at what the community wants to hear. So your participation today hopefully makes those forums better, right? Lets us pick topics, choose things of interest to the community. So thank you for being here. So as Rita said, we had a variety of different suggestions. Folks sort of, raised their hand about what they wanted to hear. So this is a chance for us to hear from you. So I would love to hear from anybody who wants to start, who has a topic they'd like to talk about. Your chance to be first on this forum. Anybody want to start? I have to keep an eye out for the hand raises. I will call on you. But would anybody like to talk about one of the topics or suggestions that they send in advance? Hillary, it looks like you have your hand up. Please. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi. Oh, can you hear me?
You can, yeah,
Okay,
good.
awesome. This is my first meeting, but so I'm not really sure if this has been a topic before, but I was hoping that maybe talking about food insecurity or food apartheid within the city of Syracuse or Onondaga County would be a beneficial topic to talk about. I work with Syracuse Healthy Start with the Onondaga County Health Department, and our consortium is actively trying to combat food insecurity within the city of Syracuse. So I just thought it might be a good topic.
Yeah, that's great. Hillary, thank you for being here and thank you for the suggestion. Are there, if I may just follow up on that, are there speakers or more specific aspects of that topic that you think would be most beneficial to the broader community?
I definitely would think that maybe having I would love to speak if that's an option. Or also Feeding New York State, who I've been in partnership with for our projects, and Also, there is a woman named Rhonda Vasey who owns Fawn, which is Food Access Healthy Neighborhoods Now, and that's located, I believe, on the south side, South Salina Street. I'm still new to Syracuse, so I'm still learning the area. Um, but I think that she would be another great speaker to have for just to talk about the need for grocery stores within the community, specifically within communities of color. I also don't mind speaking on the topic as well, but these are just more as I am very well versed on the topic. I would love to either have a partnership in speaking with Rhonda or Feeding New York State, just because they are also very well versed, and I believe that the work they're doing is very impactful to the community and more people should know about it.
That's great. And Feeding New York State, I assume, is a statewide not-for-profit organization?
Yes.
Cool. All right, great. Thank you. Great suggestion
Thank you.
with details. So thanks. Appreciate it. And welcome to the community and welcome to the Focus Forums.
Thank you.
Scott Hudson in chat suggested that, put forth that Rhonda has great ideas and quite driven to make things happen. She'd be a great guest. So a thumbs up from Scott. Cool. Looks like Teresa has raised a hand. Teresa, would you like to come on mic and camera and share your thoughts?
In piggybacking on that suggestion, I would suggest involving folks who are actually running the food pantries, boots on the ground, for problems that they have encountered in their food pantries, in the giving out of or the how food is given out and the problems that actually occur. And I'm thinking the uptick in violence at St. Lucy's Food Pantry, which relates to other things going on in the community. But it isn't always easy to connect the people with the food that they need for a number of reasons, and boots on the ground are best for that.
Gotcha. So a related topic, but a different side of that same issue, or a
Right.
different side of addressing it. Great, thank you. A past panelist, right, Teresa? You've been here in the past as a panelist, so thank you for your suggestion.
I have, and I would roll the drum again for talking about how important it is to support families with a pregnant person and young children, because we are not going to see an end to our problems in the Syracuse City School District in learning and behavior without funneling resources to the youngest among us.
Got it. Well said. Thank you. Other thoughts on this topic or a completely different topic? Anybody else like to share some of the thoughts that, and again, thank you to so many folks for being kind with how much you shared in your suggestions about what you'd like to see in the future. Anything else on food insecurity or again, a completely different topic? Hillary.
Sorry, I just also would say that another person that I am connected with, and this is in terms of food insecurity still, is the program Double Up Food Bucks as well. Would be a great, and I know someone that is willing to be a speaker as well. I'm having her speak to our mothers actually about her program. So truly anything of that nature, I would love to help with if, in any capacity, but they would
Right.
be another program.
Can you give, I didn't quite catch a duffel up, like duffel bag,
Oh,
DUFF?
double up food bucks.
Got it. Okay, cool. Well, I think we're transcribing this, but certainly we'll have the recording. So I had it. Great. Okay, that's wonderful. Cool. Other thoughts on that topic? Other speakers, perhaps, in food insecurity, in or other topics completely.
Brian.
Yes.
Hi, it's Andrea Wondersea.
Hey, Andrea, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I owe you a phone call. In other news, I don't know how Focus approaches upcoming local elections. But I think talking about the food insecurity, our kids living in poverty, which is staggering, ongoing, and improving only very, very slightly. I would be very interested in hearing our mayoral candidates come and talk specifically about their approach to poverty, housing, food insecurity, these really critical human service issues, not their broad-based platforms, but really focusing on these things, and giving them a forum to do that.
Gotcha. Thank you. And we certainly have, Rita and Alicia, right? Correct, in the past had candidate fora, correct?
Yes, we are definitely happy to do that. We are nonpartisan, so
Right.
but we do provide that as a platform. This is a platform.
And Andrea, looking at that through a lens of very important issues, maybe having it more focused, especially as I think I'm not incorrect, and there is a fairly large number, at least at this point, of candidates, correct? So
Yeah.
more focused, topic would make that easier to do or more interesting. But great, thank you.
Thank you.
Bob, Haley, I saw you came off mute. Would you, sir, nice to see you as always. Would you like to share some thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Brian, and to everyone here. Great topics, great thoughts. Great to see new folks here. Please come back for your second meeting, third, fourth, and fifth. The important thing here, food insecurity is one issue of and our efforts are essential, but they're part of a larger network. And my one statement is trying to consolidate these diverse energies of each individual group into a backup system where everybody's got everybody else's back in terms of food insecurity, which then supports the whole family approach to many other of the statements throughout the survey. So I would champion for focus and for all of us to take each of these topics, not as individual topics, but how we can network with our best supporters to broaden it to a single conversation more than these individual efforts that we all try and work on in so many different organizations. It's one of the problems with specialization, which is much of our past kind of focus, is how do we deliver through efficient energies of the mutual issue. So I love to hear your thoughts on food access and new thoughts about how to network all those involved with that into a more effective way to deliver it to our families and our community. Thanks, Brian.
Sure, thank you. Appreciate it. Other voices, folks from whom we've not yet heard. Who has a different topic they would advocate for, would like to see in April or November of this year? Dan, I think, has a hand up. Dan, go ahead, please. Dan, I saw your hand up and then I saw it come down.
I am so sorry. I was on
Yeah,
mute.
no worries.
I should know better by this point.
Thanks for being here.
I was actually just invited to this event. I've never attended before, but it looks like a great group of people. I actually briefly spoke with Bob for the first time at the Syracuse Urbanism Conference. So I can, I know we got some good people here. I just wanted to bring up, while we're on the kind of community security issues, I read this article or blog from the National Resource Defense Council about some of the lead that has been found in Syracuse tap water being some of the highest that's been recorded, in living memory. And it seemed like the city of Syracuse was not really being super transparent when they were put under FOIA requests. And I know that this is a large infrastructural issue that the city alone is probably not going to be able to deal with without, an extensive network of federal, state, and county support. And, given that our infrastructure priorities are kind of always in flux. It seems like. I'm just curious if there is kind of like an organized community response for this. I mean, I know there are programs in place to have lead pipes out by a certain time, but I think the people who really need that are usually not the ones who know about that. And you know, it just seems like a really big issue. And you know, in the article they're talking about like worse than Flint, you know, and nobody, I mean, no shade on Flint, but nobody wants to have that be ascribed to them, right? Particularly when, you know, as somebody who's just moved back to the area after having not lived here for a while, although I am from here, it's nice to see that there's a real tone change in, like, you know, Syracuse kind of almost feeling optimistic about things. When, you know, I think our pastime is more about, you know, talking about our problems. And, you know, to have something like this happen where it doesn't seem like the city is really taking a kind of candid and facts forward approach is troubling. So I guess I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about that, if this is something that's already been talked about a million times. Yeah, and I put the link for that post in the chat.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Dan, this is Latoya. I actually was on 2 calls. I'm a part of the Let's Safe CNY Coalition and currently the director. I was on a call with the Central New York Health Equity Task Force and both on a call with the coalition, where now he was the interim director and now he's been appointed the director. Robert Brandett was on and kind of gave us an update of, you know, what is really going on with the water issue, what was tested. He gave us the reality of what needs to be replaced and who is needed to actually, the manpower to replace those pipes. So an ideal could be just to get Robert on a call for a meeting and kind of give like a state of the water of where we are then, you know, with those examples that were given in the news and where we are now. I know that they were working on some things. I generally check in with them to see where we are and, you know, if they have putting out those RFPs to try to recruit more people to come into our area and get some of those pipes replaced. So an ideal, just to kind of, I guess, be clear on what's really going on, maybe to invite Robert Brandett and maybe the deputy mayor on a call just to have the conversation.
Latoya, thank you for that, for weighing in on that. Can you give that gentleman's organization, of which he used to be interim and now is the full-time director? I just missed it.
He is now the City of Syracuse Water Department Director.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I can share his email with Rita.
Excellent, thank you. Wonderful. Other thoughts on that particular topic? If it were,
I just wanted to interject again and just mention that I might be able to get the director, I believe it's director of capital projects, Dan Mulvihill, to come on and talk about this too, if that would be of interest to the group. And then also, you know, just to point out that, you know, in today's, like, for at least by Syracuse standard, it's exciting real estate market. You know, we're just about to buy a home in the city, and you know, if you want to be competitive on a house, you can't put up issues like, I want to get the water tested and the pipes tested before you do that. So, you know, my wife has an immune condition and you are really sensitive to the effects of, you know, lead in your water if you have a neurological condition, or, you know, for children, and really, you know, the safe level is 0. So I just want to point out that, you know, I think, like, it could be an issue that's not just, you know, it's not just health, it's not just cost of infrastructure, it's not just economy, you know, it's all those things. And sorry, I didn't mean to derail the conversation again.
no, please, appreciate your feedback. And so, I'm sorry, Latoya, was it you who wanted to come in as well? Somebody else said, please.
No, I'm all set. I will share the contact information with Rita, but he's actually right. So it's a bigger problem. So we know that the water is in the communities where we see the poverty, but those same lead pipes are in the old homes. So it's like really approaching it from not just a paint in a pipe, but a whole a level where we're approaching it together as we're testing not just the paint, but the pipes, the children in the homes all, all together. It's one problem, not several. But I think Robert would be able to kind of give an idea of where they are with the water issues, since a lot of those issues were within the city of Syracuse.
Gotcha.
But it really does need to be a holistic approach.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks to you both for that topic.
Brian, I just wanted to add, I think that's a critical comment about the future of home buyers for our city in a city of older infrastructure. What was just talked about was a long-term issue that we probably can't wait for the same old remedies. It's good old Einstein said we can't solve the problems of the future with the same tools we used to build it in the past. So in this case, buying a house in the city with lead testing, it should be a reason for a new approach for economic development and neighborhood development and city development. So it's a larger problem than just fix the lead pipes and go to the standard sources for it. The comprehensiveness of this issue is what we can help identify. Thank you.
Bob, are there other, just along that vein, are there other speakers or topics or, different ways in which if this were a topic for a May forum, other things you would suggest that would shed more light on the broader, more holistic aspect of it?
Yes, thank you. I would take the two studies by the city and the county, currently housing strategies plans for the future, both with excellent consultants, the CZB group, and add that to the development strategy for a city with older resources, older houses that have this issue. We have abandoned houses that have some use, not just to level them all. Some of them can be used. So it's part of a larger strategy, but using existing structures with appropriate abatement so that people can buy them when they come into our city as new folks. It's not easy, but that's the kind of systemic approach you need to have, is both city and county housing policies to help lift this out of the past into a resolution for the future. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Other thoughts on that topic? All right, I was looking at, and all hats off to Alicia, who's here today, a staff member at Focus, for slicing and dicing, for organizing into any number of bar charts, percentages, graphs, what you all had sent in. And as Rita had shared, housing, stability, and development, I think, was of the 5 broad topics the most visited. And it seemed like affordable housing availability, if I'm reading the numbers correctly, seemed to be the single sort of narrow topic about which most respondents at least touched. Would anybody like to come in? Sam, I think Samuel, you have your hand up. I don't know if it's about this topic. If it's not, that's fine, but go ahead.
Well, it's first of all, I should say it's been a long time since I've participated in Focus. I used to come regularly back in the days when Chucky and others were running it. One of the problems is, though, the problems that are being discussed now are essentially the same ones that were being discussed 20 years ago. And I think, Bob mentioned consultants. Well, we could almost have a consultant to do a report on all the consultants' reports that sit on shelves and have never been used or have been ignored for other reasons. So one of the issues I'd like to bring, and it affects the reports on water and housing and a lot of these things, is accountability. I recommend looking at some of the reports that the city auditor has been putting out this year, a lot of which have focused on the lack of follow-through or the incompleteness of projects or the changing of ships in the middle, or in the middle of the stream. That is typical of our governance here. Everybody comes in and talks and presents projects. Their consultants' reports and initiatives are begun, but we don't have a media that follows up, and we don't have a political structure that generally follows up to see whether these promises are kept, and there's no accountability about how the money's been spent. The 10 million spent for already wasted on redoing the city's computer systems and web access systems is a good case in point. That's been a stop has been put to that, and now the council are spending another $100,000 to have a consultant to look at what wasn't done and what was done. So follow-up and accountability seems to be a key thing where citizens groups can actually play an important role, if not to actually do the follow-up, but at least to advocate for that. And because we don't have a media that covers these things, it's our responsibility. So water is a good case. There have been many meetings and many studies on water, and I everything that I've learned is I've known that my house has had lead pipes since I've lived here for 30 years. It's a 1920s house. Of course it has lead pipes. But the quality of the water, that doesn't mean the quality of the water is bad, because that's not the way lead is transmitted usually into children and others, if proper precautions are taken. But we hear one report about lead in the water, and then that the issue is not generally followed up and pursued in a regular way. Now the city has a plan, a 5-year plan. The state is giving tens of millions of dollars. The question is, we have to stay on top to make sure the city and the state actually complete their plan. That's the issue. It's not, I mean, the issue is recognized, but it's will the work get done? So these are some things that I would suggest, the people in focus on.
Well, thank you for saying that. And may I ask?
And if I may, just one other comment. I'm very active on the east side. I'm president of the West Side Neighborhood Association, active in TNT and a lot of other organizations. These issues do get discussed on a regular basis in these various fora. I noticed going through the survey, which I didn't complete because I only found out about this yesterday or the day before. One thing that was systematically neglected in all of the categories, and I don't know that this should be something for focus, but the cultural component of life in Syracuse is entirely ignored in all of the 5 major sections. Nothing about culture, nothing about whether it's for enlightenment and enjoyment and recreation, about museums and parks and things like that, or whether it's for economic stimulation like tourism. Nothing is mentioned. And I think that's something that we need to address. We have a stratification in our city. We think that people who have water problems or problems in the school are not interested in broader cultural issues, and that's just not true. So we have to join these issues. They're not separate tiers. They have to be integrated. And there have been many, grassroots arts projects, for instance, in the cities that have been, very popular and effective in all neighborhoods on all sides. Okay, so that's enough for me. Sorry to take so long.
No, please. I appreciate you being here and your thoughts. Along to put it more mechanically in either of those broader topics of accountability or culture, are there speakers? Are there, if you posited a 3 or 4 panelist half-hour discussion and then half an hour of Q&A, anybody that comes to mind just brainstorming here that you think would be a good speaker, or a more focused particular topic lens through which to view either of those? Just in, it helps us to think about, all right, we gotta have somebody talking here. Anybody?
Well, I can't say about how they are as speakers, but if you were doing something on culture, a panel that might have the head, I've forgotten his name, of Visit Syracuse, which used to be the Convention and Visitors Bureau, or it could be Elizabeth Dunbar from the Everson, or Lisa Moore from OHA, or maybe someone like Rose Viviano from a smaller place like Art Rage in Hawley Green, or someone from the a folk art gallery, different, but talking about the bringing together a consensus of what we have. So that would be one sort of thing. As far as those other issues, we're going to be having Alex Marion at our Westcott meeting next month, and we'll be following up on his report on bicycle infrastructure in the city. But there are many, and we'll have some other people coming who are bicycle aficionados, and they will actually no doubt be chiming in. I think each issue will have its own group. Maybe invite people like the media. Why aren't you covering these things? We now have Jeremy Boyer who's covering City Hall. We have one reporter who covers all of our city government. That's it. It's better than we had before. But we used to have prize-winning journalists, and now we have 5 maybe good ones who are actually covering all of our region. Bring in someone from Syracuse.com and say, why don't you, or what could you do more to enhance community development and engagement.
Very good. Thanks for sharing those thoughts. I appreciate it.
Brian, can I add an idea on the cultural piece? Because I think Sam suggested some amazing organizations. I think talking to some of our younger folks and our people of color, I'm thinking of Jaleel Campbell, who's doing such exciting work in our community. And he's done a lot of work with ACR Health. And when I talk with him, I'm like, well, what about this? And what about this? He's like, yeah, but we don't do that. We don't go there. Like, middle-aged white lady might want to go do that. But like, there's a whole group of people out here are doing younger, cooler, hipper things than I am. And I think talking to those people and hearing their thoughts and ideas and experiences could really enrich these discussions.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. Other topics, other thoughts. Who haven't we heard from yet that would like to share their feedback, their suggestions, even things you don't want to see? Are there things, boy, Focus, I sure hope you don't have another or even a forum on blank. And thank you for the ongoing discussion in the chat.
I'll go. Liz, Office for New Americans. One of the things that I've kind of coined is the water is wet conversations. I feel like we tend to talk about a lot of the same things that are happening in the community, like housing and transportation. And not that those are not critical conversations,
Sure.
but I'm very interested to see intersections of other places that have to do with those things. So that's why I mentioned Syracuse Bike Party. It's a way of raising awareness for bike accessibility, for improving quality and vibrancy of neighborhoods that has to do with those things. But I love the point of what not to talk about. And I would caution to avoid the water is wet conversations.
Gotcha. Can you give a little bit more detail for those who might not be familiar with Syracuse Bike Party?
Yeah, so Syracuse Bike Party is a group I've been going to for about, oh my God, 2 years, 2-ish years, year and a half. We meet up on the last Saturday of every month. So tomorrow we will be riding 5 miles in the snow. However, I would encourage you, if it's your first time, maybe wait a little bit and start in like late spring, early summer. We start our ride in Clinton Square and we do a route through a different neighborhood each time through the city of Syracuse. So sometimes it's through Westcott, sometimes it's through the north side, sometimes it's the south side. We use beautiful parks. It really utilizes a lot of the trails. We just go for a short ride. Anybody of all abilities are welcome to join. You can also grab a Veo. We have a lot of people using e-bikes. We had somebody use rollerblading. God bless them. But we do a quick ride through the city that ranges between weather dependent 3 to 11 miles. And I don't think we've gone over 10, but and we ended a new place every at the end of each ride. So it could be a brewery. Sometimes it's Maxwell. Sometimes it's what's the one over by the water treatment plant? We've stopped at a few different places. And so we try to pick businesses at the end who are bike friendly places where we can lock things up. Harvey's Garden has been popular lately, and we get drinks after. So it's pretty fun. And if you can't join by bike, you're welcome to join the after party at the end. And I could talk about it all day, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it. That's great. And even if that doesn't become a topic, great for people to hear about it, me included. So wonderful. Appreciate it. Okay, other thoughts on topics we've not discussed as yet. I'll go back to my point and you're welcome to not touch on this, but affordable housing availability. And I guess to Liz's point, I mean, the water is wet, the, dog bites man sort of topics. But at the same time, some of these things are terribly important and come up again and again as suggestions that folks have. So either on that topic or something we've not heard about yet. Any other thoughts?
I'll speak.
Please.
This is my first forum, first time I've sat in and joined on this.
Welcome.
Liz, I'm really excited to hear about Bike Party. We're big bicyclists in the 2 ski clubs in the area, so we get out and about. So I'll have to reach out to you offline on that one. Of course, the whole 81 thing is always on my mind. I live out in Auburn, so I'm a little bit removed from the downtown Syracuse thing. But the whole Route 81, and maybe that's a water is wet topic. You all are probably sick of hearing it. I don't know really what's happening other than they're taking down the overhang and going right through the city. And my whole career until now was in higher ed. So I'm interested in learning what's going on. I mean, I worked for 10 years at Wells College and I'm heartbroken that that has been lost. CAS was lost 2 or 3 years ago. There's rumors out there that other small liberal arts colleges are going to go down as well. So what we can do, I don't know really to support colleges, but education is still important. I know since COVID, it seems that there has been somewhat of a shift, not away from higher ed certainly, but to be more inclusive of people following up on the trades, because we found that we couldn't find a plumber or a roofer after COVID. People just, there weren't enough. And I think that that's a great pathway to take. But I've always been interested in higher ed. We've got our handful of amazing universities right here in central New York. So I don't really know what the under bullet points were for the education component of this, but I'm interested in hearing more about that.
Very good. Well, appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
I will also say Unity House, we support adults with disabilities in 7 counties here in central New York. Our predominant focus is on providing housing. So affordable housing, transitional housing, permanent housing, respite. So we don't have affordable housing here that's worth human habitation. So I'm interested in hearing about that too.
Great. All right. Thank you. Appreciate your thoughts. Andrew, you said you've been talking a lot, but I don't agree. Do you want to, thank you for putting your bit in the chat. Do you want to come in just for a second and talk about opioid crisis as a topic?
Sure, of course. I think, not everybody might be aware, but the opioid crisis is the worst public health crisis our nation faces right now. And we have lots of people in this community who suffer from addiction and the resulting behavioral, mental health, social health issues that connect with that. I think sometimes we think these are issues that are just connected to the people we see at the side of the road or the homeless folks we know under the bridge, but they also hit our teenagers and our colleagues and our partners and our, young people of all ages and our older people of all ages. So if there's an interest in bringing some experts in to talk about the opioid crisis, what we're doing about it, what some of the treatments are, here at ACR Health, we have a syringe exchange program in, Utica, Watertown, Syracuse. We have mobile outreach. We do needle cleanups.
Narcan
Yeah, we
training.
do Narcan training, all of that. One of the things that really surprised me when I first started at ACR, I went to the state fair and they had me do Narcan training. They trained me first, so that was great. And I thought, who wants to get Narcan training at the state fair? Well, the answer to that is everybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely everybody at the New York State Fair wants to learn how to be Narcan trained. Every middle school teacher, every grandma, everybody who is paying attention to this issue wants to have Narcan in their purse and know how to use it. I think the question of a safe injection site is something we're talking about. We realize there's legal and political implications to that. But this might be the kind of forum where we could have a conversation around what a safe injection site looks like and what that means. I'm sure there's some people who have strong feelings on both sides, and some people who just don't understand what it would be or why you would do it, and have lots of questions. I know there's a number of organizations in town who do this work. ACR Health is one of them, Helio, Liberty Resources, we get someone from the Department of Health. And I'm sure that, you know, I have colleagues here who could help me pull in a range of perspectives and experts, if that's of interest to the group.
Yeah, no, it's great. Appreciate that suggestion. I volunteer with the Friends of the Central Library lecture series that supports the libraries, and was lucky enough about a year ago to spend the day with Patrick Radden Keefe, who wrote the book about the Sackler family and the development of OxyContin, and had a lot of bits about, you know, it's everywhere, but goodness, tough issue. But thank you for that suggestion. It's wonderful. We don't have too much time left, maybe 5-10 minutes, but love to hear some other thoughts, things we haven't touched on yet. This is being recorded. We will look at this. It does inform our thoughts about what future fora should be. But any other thoughts people would like to get in? Folks from whom we have not heard yet. Don't make me call on you. We got to have a few more suggestions, I would think.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm jumping on kind of late. I'm actually at like a conference and wanted to get in here and just kind of hear what everyone was talking about.
Hillary, thanks for being here.
We know you're
Thanks
at
for
a
having me.
spa, Hillary. We get it.
I'm at the philanthropy center, so kind of. You know, I think I wasn't really sure what to expect with this, you know, this conversation. I think there's a lot of issues in Syracuse that, you know, everybody is talking about and want to address. Like, I think that a lot of times there's like, we're talking, we're trying to collaborate, and somehow somebody had kind of mentioned it earlier, we've been having the same conversations for the same like iteration of this conversation for a long time. So I work at the courts, so two things that I just kind of wanted to throw out there was you know, I'm seeing that there's not enough attorneys for everybody. And, you know, people can't afford attorneys. A lot of them are also coming in and looking to represent themselves and are hoping for guidance. And the courts can't provide that guidance because we can't give legal advice. And so a lot of people are just kind of like hanging out at the courts saying like, what am I supposed to do? I don't even know how many, you know, pieces of paper I need to print to hand in to a clerk, you know? So anyhow,
Hillary, is that in terms of like pro se defense because there's not enough public defenders? That's okay. Gotcha. Just making sure.
Well, yeah. And not even just that, like there's a lot of people who are just in that in between, like they're, you know, not poor enough to get free representation, and they're still cannot afford to have an attorney, right? So like what do we do about that? And again, there's just not enough attorneys in general. So even for people who can afford an attorney. Another thing is just that you know, as far as like building generational wealth, you know, a lot of end of life planning, a lot of like, you know, do you have the deed to your house? And, you know, do you know how to give this to your family member when you pass? You know, it seems like there's not a lot of education around that. And, you know, people are coming in to the courthouse in crisis because, you know, their family member who owned a home has passed away and no one knows where anything is and what to do next. I'm trying to think.
May I ask, in your work, in those topics or even other topics, are there speakers that you think, boy, this person, she or he would be great to address either of those. That's always helpful. Fine if you don't, but if you have any thoughts, anything you care to share now?
Yeah, well, we did have a panel at the Southside Innovation Center last year. We had our judge from Surrogates Court join the panel, and a few different attorneys, and Sally from CNY Fair Housing. So, I think that if we got more people that are like interacting with people throughout the whole process, together to talk about these issues, that'd be really helpful. Not just talk, but like problem solve. And then, yeah, I guess I would just say I'm hearing also that a lot of small town landlords, so a landlord who might, have downsized, but they want to keep their larger home, and then they're renting to folks, and then everything with COVID and the eviction moratorium, them not getting the rent, and then either losing their home or, just becoming disenchanted by wanting to be a landlord, and they might just like let their house sit vacant if they still have it, or they don't want to rent. Yeah, we have a lot of support for tenants, and I think rightfully so. We don't want all these people from like California and other places buying up a bunch of properties here and renting them out for unaffordable prices. So, what can we do to like support people who are trying to do the right thing and get people affordable housing?
That's great. Well, thank you for those suggestions. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts. We don't have much time. Maybe one more person, anybody from whom we've not heard would like to come on and share a topic, either following on a thread we've already covered or something that's a complete right turn on our discussion so far. Appreciate the ongoing discussion, the back and forth in the chat as well. But any other thoughts, things we've not heard about or folks we've not heard from?
Hi, can I speak? This is Janelle Kraus.
Welcome.
Hi. I want to talk about the future of our youth. And I hear, Hillary talking about we need more attorneys, we need more of these business professionals that have been trained and have been educated in certain, specialized careers and professions. And I think it'd be cool to get like a panel of people to talk about what they're doing in the schools with the youth besides STEAM. I'm not talking STEAM, I'm talking about kind of that generational wealth that she was talking about. For example, I'm a funeral director. So these different kind of fields of exploration, maybe the kids haven't, thought about. They might be a first generation. They don't have family that was an attorney, but maybe they want to do that. So what are our schools, the teachers, and the school district doing to kind of keep everyone's mind open and expose the kids to different careers and that kind of thing?
Cool. Are there, would you see it as focused mainly on those who work with, who educate, who connect with high school kids? You think that's the age that you're
ultimately
thinking?
Like, for example, when I went to Henniger High School, they had programs like Avid. That was like a self-exploration thing, and they also brought in and I know that Miss Davis at Huntington is doing some career exploration courses as well and bringing in guest speakers from various professions. But I just wondered, are they doing this for, in the public schools? Are they holding Avid still? Are they doing all of these things that are really good and enriching for the kids?
That's great. Well, thank you for that suggestion. Thanks for being here today. Appreciate it. All right, we are sadly out of time, but again, a huge thanks to everybody who participated, everybody who showed up, even those who didn't get here, who sent in your suggestions. Terribly valuable, and we hope something we can use to make these forums more useful, more interesting to you. Rita, I will turn it back to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Brian. Thank you all for your ideas and thoughts here. Someone mentioned in the chat that it would be helpful if people knew a little bit more about the mission of Focus. And what Focus is very much focused on citizen engagement, trying to facilitate people being involved in their community. We like to say we facilitate, educate, and celebrate citizen engagement. So that's, and with these forums, what we're trying to do is particularly to educate, to bring issues and information on issues to the public so that they can make decisions on how they may want to become involved in some of those in their communities. So having said that, I hope you enjoyed today's session. If you have time and would like to, we'd like to have a little bit of a poll. If you could add in the chat 2 to 3 things that you think we should be thinking about, and particularly if you haven't had a chance to say anything today, that would be very helpful, and we'll look at those as well. As with all of our forums, this will be posted on our website in a few days, and you can certainly come to see what was said here, or suggest others may be interested in what we're doing and what was said during this session. Also appreciate any donations to support our efforts, and these can be easily made on our website. Other than that, thank you so much for being here today and for joining us, and have a great day. Have a great weekend. Take care.